And we're on. This is 3 yards per carry. I'm Alfredo Artiaga. Simon Clancy is here. Chris Kaufman is here. And as always, 305-800-PAIN. We are brought to you by 305-800-PAIN. No pain again, as they're on a little win streak here. Some wins,
little bit of pain, little bit of pain.
Some wins are better than others, and some wins leave you wanting more. This is one of them, and we'll get to it. Some good, a lot of bad in this one. But 305-800-PAIN, Better Business Bureau accredited with an A+ rating, your car accident, personal injury specialist, fast connections with trusted doctors and attorneys, always ready to take your call 24/7. Again, that's 305-800-PAIN, 305-800-PAIN. All right. Naturally, we're going to start in college football because there's just so much analysis we could give on Tua's terrible game yesterday. By the way, did you know that his last 3 quarters in that game, his first quarter, actually, interesting stat today. It was on NFL Live. Actually, no, Chris Sims had this stat with his sidekick, who his name escapes me. Tua Tagovailoa's first quarter was among the 4 best quarters in all of football this season. His last 3 quarters was 7 for 16 and like the 5th worst passer rating of any quarterback this season for 3 quarters.
How was his first quarter? Because he was at one point he was 2 of 5 for like 23 yards.
He was 5 of 7 for 83 yards.
That's among the best first quarters.
Like what?
Yes. What?
But among his best first quarters.
Maybe his. I don't know. It's Chris Sims says among the best first quarters.
It's not even among his best.
No, it's not.
It's not even unusual. Like the Dolphins score quick. That's their pattern.
It might be among his best first quarters in November 2025 against a team from New Orleans. Beyond that,
I think so. I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't trust Chris. I don't trust Chris Sims.
I don't trust that stat at all.
Yeah. The real number is 7 for 16 for 76 yards the rest of the game.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the real stat.
I don't even think it was that good.
Yeah, right. I think that overstates it.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday was a really good day for pretty much everybody, really, because if you wanted the Dolphins to win, you got what you wanted. Mm-hmm. If you hate Tua, you got what you wanted. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like the kind of the mechanism of the entire team, like Chris and I don't, certainly, you also got loads to bitch about. So for everybody, I think everyone was a winner.
Everybody was a winner yesterday. It really was.
Yeah.
The HM people got to beat their chest.
Yeah,
except Tua. Tua's not. Tua's not the winner.
I think the only losers are the people that are still in that. Tua is like. I mean, look, we've had arguments with I've had arguments on social media with people this year. Where people go, he's definitely a top 10 quarterback. It's like, lads, he's probably about 24th or 25th in the league, and it's getting worse. That's not an exaggeration. So unless you're an absolute Tua homer, then yesterday was a bad day. But for everybody else, it was pretty much win all the way around.
Mm. Yeah. Now he's moved himself into that lower third. Like
he's bad now.
It's not just bad games; it's who he is. It's who he is now, and who he is, because this is how I evaluate quarterbacks out of college too. Is I'm not. You have to really separate because everybody can have a bad game. Everybody can have a mediocre game or something like that. It's about who you are now, and who he is completely different. Who he is completely different than it used to be. I liken it to, and I know that this is a minefield for a sports podcast to step into the world of politics, but you know how like Joe Biden within like 2 years was completely unrecognizable, like, or 2 or 3 years from like you look at old clips or something like that versus, new clips, and you're just like, whoa, that is really different. Or, if you look at on a football level, on a quarterback level, if you look at, a quarterback late stage of his career, Ben Roethlisberger or something like that, in the later stages of his career versus early in his career, right?
Enacting Mickey Rourke.
Yeah,
from heartthrob to hideous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, enacting Mickey Rourke. Yeah, that's actually a good one. And so like the difference is just so tremendous Simon, I think you brought this up the like a couple of weeks ago. Like, you watched the legendary Arizona game, and it's just like watching a completely different player. But what is very striking is how short amount of time, that much difference has happened. That is very striking and very concerning, because it's like, then you're like, if you're mapping a trajectory, where's this going? Yeah. It's getting worse.
It's the pocket awareness, panic. That's the thing that shocks me the most. Like
fear.
The fear, that don't know what to do with it, shrink and like throw the ball into the ground and fall on the floor. And whereas you go back to the Arizona game, it was juking people and it was, come on, take you on, look this way, go that way, like, duck under people, run around a bit. It was like,
and he was still doing that like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
like he was.
Whoever this is cosplaying as Tua from then is man, is not good.
My issue is that, and I guess we're going to get into Tua now, and we'll talk a little Lane Kiffin before this first half of the show is done, and we introduce you to 2 new sponsors for the month. But my issue with Tua is just, and I know that Chris said that it didn't really bother him too much. It bothers the hell out of me. The interception is a simple bow-go combination. It sounds exactly how it looks exactly how it sounds. It's a bow route underneath a go route. And if you recognize the coverage, and Tua obviously recognizes it because he throws it blind to the go because he thinks it's a Tampa on that side of the field. It's actually a split field coverage. Cover 6. On that side, it's Tampa to the play side. But Tua is staring at Kool-Aid McKinstry's ass, running away from him, and still throws the ball. Buddy, there's going to be 2 guys down there now. Throw the bow. All of that is wide open underneath to Waller, and it was.
He never looked anywhere. There was never a moment where it wasn't anything other than catch and throw that route. That was.
He was like, oh, it's it's split field cover 2. Okay, I know that this is to the corner, and it's going to be a safety and Waddle and YOLO. Here we go. It's just dumb.
But the reason I didn't mind it is because when he Kodaked it before he threw the ball, is that safety had his hips completely turned away, had his hips completely turned away from the go route from the receiver. And so I think that he was just being, I don't view it as a complete brain dead moment. I view it as a too aggressive moment, which is something that you come across when you're watching quarterbacks. And I think lately, from leadership on down, from Mike McDaniel down, he has excused those sort of arm punt, too aggressive, going for it, and getting the interception. Like, he has excused those things to where there's signs that basically, I mean, listen, they're leaning on the run game now. Mike McDaniel has found religion. We know that. In order to lean on the run game as much as they are, they need to take shots to keep a defense honest, right? They need, and if it's an interception, it's almost like, if it's an interception, yeah, that's bad for 1 drive, but it might be good for 4 more drives. It might be good for 4 other drives, because it can loosen up the defense and keep Devon Achane able to produce and things like that. So you've almost gotten the feeling that Mike McDaniel is okay. If I call a shot play, you take the shot. Unless it's, completely, as you mentioned, a completely wrong coverage. And in that play, like, the guy had his hips completely turned away from the receiver, and I think he was just too aggressive. And he's not a good deep ball thrower. He's not gonna hit the whole shot. Like, he's not gonna Justin Herbert it into that small window vertically, before the safety can get back. Instead, he floats it. And it gives the safety plenty of opportunity to go out and run under it. I'm not saying it was a good call. I'm saying it was too aggressive. And I think that from leadership on down, they're excusing that. And so, I come away, I'm like, listen, there are about a dozen plays I would look at.
Yeah. And by the way, on that play, the Saints blew the coverage. Kool-Aid McKinstry is supposed to just sit there.
Yeah.
He leaves all of that area gaping space wide open for Waller to just waltz into and just catch a 30-yard ball. But Tua's like, I'm going down there.
I think he focused. You think he focused on it's a shot play, so I'm going to take the shot, and I'm going to use my eyes to try and free up the shot. And there's probably a dozen plays that I'd sit there and excoriate the man for before I start talking about that, or start talking about the Darren Waller throw in the back of the end zone, where Darren Waller actually lost his footing, in the back of the end, or lost track of his footing in the back of the end zone. I just think he was terrible on so many throws, on so many, terribly inaccurate. Some easy stuff.
The Julian Hill play that everyone's like, oh, hit him in the hat. And it's like, Hill's running that way. The ball's going behind him, and he's turning his entire body. It's a 7
well.
yard.
I think it's a two wrongs don't make a right thing.
Well, I'm
not gonna. Julian Hill is being treated like a hero on the broadcast for some reason, which was terrible broadcast.
My God, it was the worst.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a two wrongs still make two wrongs thing. There's a lot of other tight ends that would have made that catch. Julian Hill's not one of them.
No, but at least you're not throwing it 25 yards downfield into double coverage.
No, it's a terrible throw.
7 yard,
it's a terrible throw.
He's getting the problem, and I think there's such a wider, we can go into all these different areas of the contract, which is so corrosive, but the decision for whoever the new general manager is going to be so enormous, because the general manager's decision, whichever way he goes, let's just say it's for want of a better, because I can't think of anybody else, let's just say Fred Smith of the Montreal Alouettes comes in as GM, right? But Fred Smith has to decide, do I stick with this guy who's clearly physically almost incapable now moving forwards? He can't play the position. Mm-hmm. He eschews the opportunity to pick up first downs with his legs because he's too scared to do so. And he just, his mechanics aren't the same. His accuracy is falling, all of these things. Do I sit and ride with this kid for another year, knowing that it's not going to get any better? In fact, it's probably only going to get worse, declining. But I've got to do that because of the money. But that could affect my job, because we could end up going 2 or 3 and whatever, because he's just not very good. Or do I get rid of him, cut him completely, and do it after June 1st and save us that 60 million, and then go and get a Marcus? Oh, sorry, still have to suck that 65 million or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and go and get a guaranteed or a Marcus Mariota or whatever, and just say, you know what, we're just going to ride with these guys for a year. We'll get to the 27 draft, and there's going to be 62,000 quarterbacks in that draft. And that's a massive decision on the other side, because he's also putting his own job at threat, because, that could also go really badly wrong, because you're going to have to play JV guys because of the money that you're choking on because of what you're going to have to do with the quarterback. It's such a fascinating, complex, awful thing that we now find ourselves in, because clearly clearly the Tua window is over. Mm-hmm. It's just fascinating to see, do they just cut ties completely, swallow the money, and just think, fuck it, we're in a full reset, hard reset? Or do they kind of limp their way through with Tua next year, knowing that it just looks ugly, and it's looked ugly all season? And I don't think it's down to the offense, the play calling, the lack of Tyreek, all of these things. It's just him, and it's whoever that new GM is going to be, whether that's Fred Smith or Alec Halaby or whoever. There's some huge decisions, and you're going to have to think pretty long and hard about whether or not you take a job, given that those are the parameters that you're going to have to come in on.
Well, whoever gets worse, it's worse because of the head coach.
And then you're stuck in the middle with a head coach who clearly, and you made the point yesterday, Chris, I think it was just on WhatsApp when we were just chatting, you said the way that the broadcast has clearly been, they clearly sit down with McDaniel, they have a chat with McDaniel, and it's almost like they're leaning, McDaniel is trying to steer people towards the Mike McDaniel camp and away from the Tua camp, in almost that, it's like Siamese twins, and they're trying to get an actual separation, and that, they're trying to pull, and what's going to happen, and is the elastic going to snap on both of them? Does one survive? I just can't see them both surviving going into next year, and that to me is the fascinating thing.
Yeah, I think whoever they hire as the general manager is going to be pretty secure in that first year. He's going to have that honeymoon period that if he suggests to burn down the stadium, people will be like, okay, let's go get some kerosene and let's burn this place down.
But who's his head coach while he does that?
Yeah.
You know, because whoever's your head coach while you do that, like this is the problem that they had with Brian Flores, right? Brian Flores was not up for 2019. You know, he wanted to make more out of 2019 than certainly the rest of the Dolphins did, including ownership, right? And what head coach is going to come in saying, I'm okay with putting together a 3-14 record in my first year coaching, as if that's not going to harm my reputation, regardless of what I'm dealing with.
So is a rookie fettered by the past, but a kind of a greenhorn going to come in and have that on his record? No.
Yep.
Is an old wily vet like a Jason Garrett or whatever, Mike McCarthy, are they going to want to take that? No. Guys like Kevin Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell, who might find himself in trouble, are they going to want that on their resume? No. Like both of them have had, both those two Kevins, who I think might shake free in the off season. Both of them have had significant quarterback issues. O'Connell, everybody talks about him being the quarterback whisperer, but they've cycled through Kirk Cousins and the guy whose name escapes me but came in and played, to the back end of the season, Josh, whatever his name is.
Downs.
They had obviously JJ McCarthy, they had Sam Darnold, they had the nightmare yesterday with Max Brosma, which, 4 interceptions, including that absolutely horrendous 84-yard pick six to Ernest Jones, where he just chucked the ball up for grabs. McCarthy,
but somebody in that building in Minnesota played so much with his own ego that they got rid of a ready-made quarterback you won 14 games with.
Yeah. Well,
who had a great season because I took JJ McCarthy, whoever that is. So it's probably Wesley.
Yeah, they had the meltdown, great regular season, the meltdown in the playoffs, but Donald didn't play very well.
I get it.
And they decided that was it, and McCarthy was the guy. That was. I thought
the Brosmer was so predictable, though.
Yeah,
like the struggles.
And Donald wasn't amazing yesterday, but he's been brilliant all season. But was it 26-0 in the end? I think when I was watching on Red Zone, and JSN didn't have a bunch of yards and stuff, and yet they still comfortably hammered the Vikings. And I do think there'll be I think there might be a reset in Minnesota with both the GM and the head coach. But to go back to that point, Stefanski obviously has cycled through about 9 different quarterbacks. Is he going to want to come into a situation where it's like, I don't know what the quarterback situation is here? Like,
again,
like the realistic expectation of the draft is that Mendoza will come out. Ty Simpson has slowed a little bit over the last month or so, and he's got a huge game against a very
and might not come out,
and he may well go back. In the SEC championship game coming up, Dante Moore, there is chatter that he might come out, but the chances are he's going to go back, and at that point, you're probably not looking at another first-round quarterback, even if somebody unlikely like a Josh Hoover or a Darian Mensah or one or two of these other guys slightly off the radar come out. I don't think Arch is going to come out. So, and then all of a sudden you're putting yourself, if you're Stefanski or you're O'Connell, into a situation where you think, well, am I riding with a guy that, for whatever you think about Mike McDaniel, a really great play designer, can't get over the line with, or am I looking at spending an entire year with Marcus Mariota, who'll be okay for a few games, but we know what we're going to get, Mac Jones? Do I take a risk on an Anthony Richardson? Kirk Cousins, who looks done in the games he's played in Atlanta? Like, what motivation is there for a coach to come in and just say, you know what, I'm going to be fine sucking, and I'm going to be fine not having a quarterback situation. I'm going to be fine not spending any money in free agency. I'm going to be fine knowing that if we don't absolutely hit out of the park and get Arch Manning or Julian Sayin, or and somebody a quarterback that can come in, because even if you're picking first, there's no expectation that that quarterback is going to be the right quarterback. You only have to look at go back and look at the drafts of the last few years and see the quarterbacks that have been successful and the quarterbacks that haven't.
It's actually like good luck to be picked the third quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, there's, for every Trubisky, there's a Mahomes. For every I watched Bo Nix this
Rosen, Josh Allen.
Yeah, but so like, how is that Denver team is good, but Bo Nix is really not very good, and you just think like, I don't know, that it is a hard. There's only 32 of those jobs in the world, right? As a head coach, but that is a hard ask to say. Yeah, we just want you to come in and be pummeled for at least 3 years, and we don't really know what the quarterback situation is, and you're not going to have a lot of cash because we're going to have to pay off a load of these guys anyway. So, especially the quarterback that nobody really wants anymore. So, so if you don't mind just being a complete arse and everybody hating you for 3 years, then good luck. But you'll get, $4 million a year to do it, but everybody will hate you.
So 2 questions, that leads me to 2 questions for the two of you is okay. And put that together with the other thing that I started talking about today, which is the timing of the GM hiring, right? Which is that they're going to have to go through that process immediately after the regular season ends, because that's the first time that you can interview people for the GM, right? Is you can interview people that aren't employed, that's fine, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about guys that are with other teams. Is the day after the regular season ends, Monday. So the window opens for first interviews for your head coach candidates the following day, like Tuesday, Wednesday, for those number 1 seeds, as well as any team that's not in the playoffs, right? And if you don't interview guys during that window, which is either that Tuesday or Wednesday, which is like the day after you're interviewing people for your GM job, right? If you don't interview during that first window or the following week, then you don't get you don't get second interviews either. You have to wait until the season's done, right? Like, so that's the way the NFL is. So there's a challenge where if you're going through your GM cycle in the first week of whatever after the regular season ends, you might, and then you decide to fire McDaniel and try and hire it, you might have to wait a month while your guys that you like, that you want to interview, are interviewing twice with other teams and not allowed to interview with you because of the rules, because that's the rules. So you have this big disadvantage if you're trying to hire both the GM and the head coach at the same time. So given that, and given all the things that you just talked about, Simon, like, is this we're handing somebody a grenade and it might as well be Mike McDaniel? Like, whoever we're handing this situation to, it is a grenade. And it is, and it might as well be the guy who's already kind of screwed up some of his chances, right? And like, he squandered some of his opportunities already, and he can't hardly complain about. So that's first question. Should it be Mike McDaniel on that basis alone? Second question, does Mike McDaniel do what Adam Gase did and refuse it? Because Adam Gase was fired. Specifically, Steve Ross said Adam Gase did not want to be part of this reset. He said he was not up for this. So does Mike McDaniel step out and say, I'm not in favor of the hard restart that you're talking about?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Gase had 1 year left on his contract. McDaniel has 3. So he has 12, unless he doesn't like money.
Yeah. Right.
But there's 12. He has about $12 million to say, yeah, I'll blow myself up. That's a good point. Season.
That's a good point.
So
if they keep McDaniel, do you think that there's a possibility they go to a team such as the 49ers, who've had a pretty stable front office with the same kind of people there for many, many years? When you look at Tariq Ahmed and RJ Gillen and obviously the GM, John Lynch, but also Parag Marathe and guys like that, and think, you know what, if we're going to have to ride with McDaniel, then rather than just pair him with a GM that doesn't know him, so there's essentially just a whole lame duck situation, you at least pair him with somebody that does know him, has worked with him, does understand him, and at least there's some sort of relationship there, rather than just plucking an Alec Halaby or a Dawn Aponte or somebody who doesn't know him at all, and just think, right, we're going to have to try and gel these two together because we're stuck with Mike because we just can't go through the entire process that Chris has just outlined.
Yeah, that's my thinking on this, is to hire a czar, a Halaby or whoever, or Ray Agnew, whoever, that's going to oversee the 2 minions below him, which is the general manager and the head coach. And for that 1 year,
that's a hell of a promotion for somebody who's never even been a GM for Halaby or Agnew.
Yeah.
Like, to me, a czar would be an Aponte.
Yeah,
she would be the star.
Or a Saban, like
or a Saban, exactly the name I was going to say.
And have them watch them for a year. Yeah, you're going to pair Mike McDaniel with his guy, whoever that his guy, maybe it's Champ Kelly, but watch him for a year.
Like Kentucky, actually, who they've just hired Will Stein as new head coach. So that would not surprise me if Kelly was the next domino to fall with Kentucky, because that's where he went to college. And yeah.
I do agree. I do agree with that. I think that if you take that approach with the czar, like you said, Alf, Aponte, I doubt I wish they could get Saban to do that. I don't think it's going to happen. But if they do that, then there is a possibility. But I think they have to have that GM title, though. Whoever, depending on who it is. But I think that they have to have that GM title, because there are certain things that come with it. But if they do that, then it's another Dennis Hickey situation, right? Like it's like it could be like Simon suggests, where we pull in a guy from the 49ers or somebody that is simpatico with and it might be Champ Kelly, simpatico with Mike McDaniel, because Mike McDaniel is going to be here for one more year. But don't buy a house, that that's a tough thing to do in this business. That is a really tough, because reputationally that's a tough thing to do in the NFL, because it is a small pond. And I think that the Dolphins are going to have to be very careful about what they do reputationally and how they handle it. So I think the default is just to go through the cycle quite normally, and hire the best GM. And yeah, Simon, you might be right. It might be some guy like Alec Allaby or somebody who has no experience with McDaniel, no special, compatibility with McDaniel, and just McDaniel is here for another year because he's the only person that can hold the grenade for a year. And this is a grenade.
Here's a left field head coaching name for you, and it is left field. Brian Hartline.
Oh man,
it's a sort of Steve Ross move, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, the Steve Ross move is to hire Vance Joseph.
Oh yeah,
and he loves Vance Joseph.
Or Jason Garrett.
Yeah, or Jason Garrett. Yeah.
He loves Jason Garrett or Mike McCarthy. I could easily see that happening.
Yeah, he does love him some Vance Joseph, and he loves and that defense is really good. Oh, he likes Jason Garrett as well. But yeah, I think
a little background on that. I think we've talked about it before on the pod. Stephen Ross was actually upset when he lost Vance Joseph to the Broncos the first time, and was wondering if there was a way to block it. And he was advised to. No, you don't block your DC leaving for a head coaching job. You just don't do it.
It's actually not possible.
Right. But he was thinking about, is there a way? So he really likes Vance Joseph. That's a known fact. But he's had 2 interviews. He had 1 interview here, didn't he? Vance Joseph? During the
he got an interview, didn't he?
For the Flores cycle, I believe. Right? Or was it for the McDaniel cycle?
I forget.
Here's some names. Somebody's put up like 20 names of head coaches, right? Clint Kubiak, Seahawks offensive coordinator. Mike LaFleur, Rams. Josh McDaniels. I mean, Vance Joseph is 4th. Jim Schwartz is 5th. Steve Spagnuolo is 6th. Clay Kubiak is 7th. He's the 49ers offensive coordinator. Chris Shula is 8th. Jesse Minter obviously would interest Stephen Ross because Minter was at Michigan. Jeff Hafley, Joe Brady, who's kind of been limited by the fact that the Bills just don't have any receivers who can run fast. Cliff Kingsbury, obviously won't have Flores. Todd Monken, Greg Roman, Campanile, Matt Burks, probably not going to happen. Then Wes Phillips, who's the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, and Clayton Adams, who's the Cowboys offensive coordinator. And there's some names on that list that you could absolutely see. McDaniels, Joseph, Schwartz, would he go there?
I'll give you one. Sean McDermott.
Yeah. I just don't think he's. I think it'd be a mistake for him to.
It's looking like they got to go on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I will say this though, Simon,
and they're a game away from being out. Like you never know, they drop a couple of games, and their schedule is not the easiest in the world.
In counter to everything that we've been talking about with how bad of a situation it looks like for a prospective head coach. Sean Payton took over a situation in Denver that looked similar with that Russell Wilson contract. Like that was like they were in the exact same situation with guaranteed money heading Russell Wilson's way, a lot of it in that year, and Sean Payton, took that situation over and he just booted Russell Wilson eventually, and I think that I think that it was not an attractive situation for a guy as coveted as Sean Payton, and he was extremely coveted, so coveted that the Dolphins got in massive trouble for tampering with and trying to get him in Miami, and people were very convinced, by the way, he was going to Miami. I think that it's possible that some of these guys take a long-term view. It's possible that some of them would say, you know what I need is a franchise that has a strong amount of revenue, an owner that has a lot of money and a lot of willingness to use it. And everything else is not ultimately consequential.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it being Mike McCarthy.
Well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk a little positively of that game yesterday, which was hard to do.
Before you do that, I've got one other name. John Gruden.
Oh, man.
I got another name. Have Lane Kiffin jump ship from LSU. And we'll touch on Lane Kiffin on the other side of this break.
It would be so Lane Kiffin.
Oh, my God. Just swoop in. What is LSU paying you? $13 million a year? What do you say to $14 million a year?
There you go.
And I think Lane Kiffin will get on that plane. He will get on that plane.
He's a big fan of planes.
By the way, this is for the other side, but you guys know the story behind how Florida did not get Lane Kiffin? Have you heard that story?
The rough draft of it, the rough outline of it.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin 2 years ago was essentially told, you're next. Like, that's happening. Like, you're going to be the next Gators coach. He was waiting for Billy Napier to be fired. And essentially, Florida took too long to fire Billy Napier. And LSU got wind of it, that Florida was ready to offer him the deal. And LSU said, there is no amount they can count to that's going to be as high as to where we can go. And LSU essentially put the kibosh on any Lane Kiffin to Florida rumor. But yeah, we'll touch a little bit on Lane Kiffin. And God told him he had to go to LSU.
I loved his comment where he said he almost got run off the road on the way to the airport, and he was shocked about what the fans were saying. What did he expect? What did he expect? He can't be that thick.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on this second half because it's just hilarious. Like what's coming out of there, him telling his assistant coaches, get on this plane or there won't be a job for you. And one guy walked onto the plane. So the rest of the coaches are still there. They're still there. So we shall see. We shall see if those threats really hold water and if he really is going to empty out the entire. Like, I don't understand. Like today he's tweeting. I know that we're getting into it now, but today he's tweeting spot the ball, and he's putting the schedule for next year against Ole Miss, LSU against Ole Miss. So not only are you eviscerating their coaching staff, you're going to take all of their players through the portal, but now you're threatening to beat them too.
Oh, of course.
Like, what did Ole Miss do to you, Lane? But first, let me tell you about Rula. They are a new sponsor to the podcast. Taking care of your mental health shouldn't be harder than taking care of your physical health. But when it comes to finding the right therapist, suddenly it's frustrating. You've got long waits and you're staring down huge out-of-pocket costs. That's what usually stops people from getting help. That's where Rula comes in. Rula comes with and makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans, and the average session just has a copay of $15. Rula connects you to over 15,000 licensed therapists and psychiatrists nationwide. They cut out the guesswork by matching you with someone based on your needs, preferences, and state requirements, so you're not wasting time with the wrong fit. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to rula.com/3 yards. It's right there on the screen. And get started today. That's RULA.com/3 yards. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. And of course, Factor. Not only are they back for the month of December, but they're back for the 2026 season. And not only are they back for the 2026 season, they're back for the entire calendar year. So I believe this is the first sponsor that actually signs on with us for an entire 12 months. But we would like to thank them. So we would like to thank Factor and bringing them back to the show in December. Finding time to cook can be tough, and that's why I love, and we all love, Factor. Their chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. More variety, more meals. Choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. Savor global flavors. For the first time, try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. Eat smart at factormeals.com/3yards50 off. That's the number 3, yards50 off. And use the code 3yards50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code 3yards50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing sub purchases. And we're back. That was a mouthful. All right, back to Lane Kiffin. Simon, the guy, I already talked about the threat he made to his assistant coaches, but then he went to Oxford, the fine people in Oxford, how he kept referring to them to, which is like when people keep calling you the fine people, they're it's not a compliment. It's like when anybody says with all due respect. If somebody says with all due respect, they're about to disrespect you. Right?
That's a Southern thing. Bless your heart.
Yeah. But he then tells the fine people of Oxford, no, I want to coach in the playoffs. And not only do I want to coach in the playoffs, I want to coach all the way through. So if you make and of course, there's some dates coming up. Wednesday is signing day. And if they make the semifinal, that's past the deadline for the first portal. So he was going to stay in Oxford if they let him coach through signing day and the end of the first portal. What was going to happen? He was just going to move the entire team over to LSU and essentially eviscerate that program from within. And of course, they said no. What do you make of that whole thing, Simon? Because it's funny and tragic at the same time.
I saw Bill Cowher on Rich Eisen this afternoon, and Cowher said that he thought it was a disgrace to the coaching profession. The fact that the coaching profession is about developing young men, not about chasing the greener grass whenever it rears its head. And the fact that, there are rules about players transferring and they can't do certain things at certain times, but it's okay for the coaches just to leave. I mean, Ole Miss are going to be in the playoff. You've worked so hard to get to that point. I mean, what did he think was going to happen? The whole idea that he could coach in the playoff is just so ludicrous. It's not even naivety. It's just insanity to me. But I think two of the most fascinating things I've discovered today are the dog. Don't know if you know about the dog that he had, but essentially the dog got left behind, and then it was discovered that the dog didn't even live with him. Like he almost used a fake dog for good PR. Which I thought was fascinating. And then I don't know if you've come across like the Oxford yoga chat, but there's a whole Reddit group about Oxford yoga girls essentially just dishing the tea on all his antics in these hot yoga classes that he was doing. Nothing untoward. It's just really very funny. But yeah, I mean, seriously, I just think, look, he can go and coach wherever he wants to. It's a free market. I just think it's been handled so badly, and I completely understand why people were annoyed and, trying to hold Ole Miss to ransom over let me coach, knowing full, you wouldn't you wouldn't let an employee who was going to be going up against you as a direct rival come back into the building and, take all your state secrets and get all your documents and hire all your coaches and try and tap up all your players for next season. I mean, why would you do that? So I completely understand Ole Miss's decision and his kind of faux shock at how annoyed people were. I just found almost mesmerizing. So he's an excellent football coach, and I think LSU, he should win multiple national championships there. He needs a quarterback, and it wouldn't surprise me if he dipped into the portal and got a Cam Coleman from Auburn to play receiver, and we'll see what happens. Some of the really good young Ole Miss 5-stars that he's got bubbling away under the surface as well. So, but yeah, I think it's that you're there to coach the kids and to be a leader and to be a father figure and to be not to jump at the first time the barmaid flashes a $13 million a year apron at you. That to me just sits a little bit uncomfortable. Do it in the off season. It's great. As soon as you're out of the playoff, amazing. Go do it. And I know that there's a bigger picture for LSU, recruiting, signing, all of those things, transfer portal, yada, yada, yada. But you have a responsibility, I think, a coaching responsibility, and I think a moral responsibility to see that out. You're being paid exceptional money to live in a beautiful part of we went to Oxford in the summer, went through, and it's beautiful, and the stadium is beautiful, and the facilities are beautiful, and yeah, it's 6 weeks, 2 months max that you could stay there, Chris, and do that. And it just sits about comfortably with me.
I would, interestingly, I would take the other side of this a little bit. And listen, I'm not crying for Lane Kiffin of all people. Because as I was telling you guys before, I mean, what's going on is a bunch of pettiness. And Lane Kiffin is a very petty person, in my opinion. And so, fight him with pettiness. That's fine. I don't care. But I do care about the people that get caught in the middle, and the undeserving people that get caught in the middle when the mom and dad are fighting, kind of situation. And I think that Ole Miss is fighting pettiness with pettiness, and somewhere lost in this. And Alf, you can probably expound upon this later, but we're talking about like a situation where they might not be in the playoff because they've decided not to let Lane Kiffin coach the rest of the Ole Miss through the playoffs, because that is one of the criteria. It's the third. It's a third of the criteria.
Yeah, there's their top 4 criteria. The first one is their ranking in the CFP, right? Your second is head-to-head. Wink, wink. And the third one is drastic changes to the roster, including coaching and coaching staff.
So it's a big factor, and it might literally knock Ole Miss out of the playoffs, right? And so think about, and I think that taking the stance that why would you allow Lane Kiffin to continue to captain the ship through the playoffs and just putting him in position to recruit, essentially. I would say, one, he's going to do that anyway. That's going to happen anyway. I'm sorry. It's going to happen anyway. 2, that treats these kids like they are literal children, not adults who make financial decisions in their own interests and have full agency as adults to do so, which they do, And so, I just say, put it all out there. Yes, Ole Miss, like if you're Ole Miss and you say, yeah, I realize that we're putting Lane Kiffin in position to continue to recruit our kids, but we can do the same thing too. And we can talk to those kids too. And also those kids aren't really kids. They're grown men with agency of their own to make financial decisions, in their own interests. And we're going to help them make what we think is the best decision for them, and so let's just have it all out there because it's going to happen anyway. And so it's sort of like, oh, all right, well, now you don't even make the playoffs because of this. right? Or possibly, I don't. We're not. That's not 100% certainty of any sort. But the idea that they can miss the playoffs because of it is really damning of the petty fight. And it's sort of like, anybody that's gone through this, the parents are not supposed to allow the kids to feel it. Like when they're fighting like that. And I think that there's a little bit too much of collateral damage going on. And as one of the sides, you can be above that. Lane Kiffin ain't above it. I'm not saying that he's going to be. But as one of the sides, you can be above it, and you can, try and do the best that you can do from your own standpoint and what you can control. And I'm not sure that that's actually happened.
Yeah. Last thing on this, and I think we can move on and then move on to the Dolphins a little bit here at the end of the show. I don't think it's a better job. And I think that's what's getting lost here is why go to LSU? This is not 10 years ago.
It is more money though.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not for him. I mean, for the paying the players.
Yeah. But it's the NIL era. It's the portal era. He coached Jackson Dart. You don't think he could get the quarterback of his choice if he goes out there? Is he really going to Louisiana to sit in living rooms to convince people to send him your 17-year-old because I'm going to make him a great player and a great man? I don't think that's what he's going over there for. I think the move was you built up Ole Miss, take them as far as you can, and then jump ship to the NFL, which is what you want to do. And we all know Lane Kiffin eventually wants to do that again, right? But LSU, I don't know. I don't think he's any closer. It's still the SEC. It's a loaded conference.
I do think they have more money. I think they have more money to pay the players.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, but they sent Brian Kelly. Like, my God, they had Brian Kelly there, and then that was a disaster. They fired him. They didn't like Ed Orgeron. The guy won a national championship. I think it's just a rough place to go coach.
I mean,
it's a pressure cooker.
Have you seen? Yeah, of course. But have you seen the stats that they're currently paying 3 head coaches? So they fired Ed Orgeron in 2021, and the buyout was 17 million, and they're still paying that off. They fired
and they coached the greatest team in college football history.
Yeah, and they fired Brian Kelly, and his buyout was 54 million, which they were still currently paying off. And now they're paying 91 million to Lane Kiffin. So
that's my dream in life. Somebody to pay me 54 million to go away.
But that's how much money they got, right? Like that's how much. And so it's like, to me, the argument, like, stay at Ole Miss versus going to LSU is like, hey, listen, if you can go coach the Yankees with all the money that that they have, you go coach the Yankees. And I think, so that's the part I do understand it. And I understand that in this business, and I don't like it, but it is like these offers are exploding offers, and so it's like, oh, the timing is bad. Well, that's probably not Lane Kiffin's fault, the timing of it. I'm not saying he's a great person or that, I like his general comportment during all this, because I don't. But I think that there's a really kind of ridiculously just bad all the way around situation with a lot of self-interested people that are causing collateral damage, and nobody's stopping to think about that. They're all just self-interested.
I would just like to say that Ed Orgeron is getting his final buyout payment on December. No bullshit. I'm not making this up. LSU sends Orgeron his final buyout payment of $426,000 on December the 15th. There you go. A nice little Christmas. This year. Yeah.
So it's sort of like the Barry Bonds thing. Like, how long was Barry Bonds getting paid?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we lost Alf.
Oh.
We lost you completely, buddy. You've gone under the sea.
Yeah. Only a submarine can find you now, Alf.
You laughed him into, he's gone catatonic. He's just
the Ed Orgeron just sent him. Maybe that was him attempting to do Ed's voice.
You're starting to sound like I know what we're He freezes up. He freezes up and immediately is like,
Hey, man. Go Tide.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I loved how he used to sign off every interview.
Oh,
with,
man.
Go Tigers. Maybe
Go
I
Tigers.
should do that.
Oh, man. I think he was. I think that's what we
Oh,
heard.
God.
We didn't even talk about the game. Did we talk
I'm
about
back.
the game?
Oh, he is.
He's back. There he is.
All right.
Oh,
So let's just,
God.
I don't know what if you guys talked about these guys, but let's just quickly go through.
I will be back. I can hear you. You guys.
No, you can't.
There
'cause
you
he's
are.
gone. He's gone silent again.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, you're just like a little bit like laggy, sort of.
All right. Let's finish up here with the good from this game and give the game balls accordingly. Defensive tackles. I'm gonna start there and pretty much end there because it's too obvious to just say, yeah, pay HN and he's great and all of this. The defensive tackles, man. The reason this defense is getting better week by week, and I understand they're playing some of the dregs of society, okay, but they also did play the Buffalo Bills very, very well. It's that those defensive tackles are good. They're playing well. Jordan Phillips is already really good. Kenneth Grant is making himself, he's making a presence of himself in these games every single week, getting better every week. I think this was his best game. And Zeke Biggers. Look, he, along with Jordan Phillips, made the play of the game, stopping the tush push to win the game. By the way, 3 tush pushes got stopped as winning plays this week. None of them against the Eagles, which kind of tells you all you need to know. And then the last one, yeah, Zeke Biggers, like I said, he made the play on that one, and also he had the sack, and he's a force in the pass rush. Not because he does anything special. It's just that he's so strong that he affects the pocket every time he rushes the passer. So my game balls are going to be placed in the locker rooms of those 3 defensive tackles. What say you, Simon?
I'm going to just say a much maligned Terrell Dodson solely for the intelligent way that he handled the situation with the points that essentially won the Dolphins the game. Like already man coverage, getting everybody lined up, and you watch the All-22 and he's running about, literally shouting into people's ears and telling people where to line up, running from side to side. So Terrell Dodson for that play, because that ultimately won the game.
Chris.
Yeah, and I think the unsung heroes a little bit of this defensive, as I talked about this before, the defense has just been kind of going up all season, right? And I think that heavily criticized, and for good reason, secondary is continuing to play better and defy odds, like defy all logic in some ways. Whether it's Ifeatu Melifonwu or Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas, that interception, and they pan him a little bit for the run back because he looked like he was a defensive tackle running back, not a corner. But
a guard caught him, man. A guard caught him.
It was that was bad. Like, but still, like, it was a huge play that he made. I think that secondary is, and Minkah Fitzpatrick in there at the slot and the nickel position is just, they're playing out of their minds relative to how you would think they should be playing. And so they're really some unsung heroes here for that defense. And I think you mentioned it, Simon, Terrell Dodson. You know that Jordan Brooks is good, right? So the fact that Terrell Dodson and Jordan Brooks are starting to play better and not just racking up tackles, but also, communicating and guiding that defense. And I think that that's such an important part of Anthony Weaver's defense that you have to look there and the secondary for why they're getting better and better. And it reminds me so much of the Brian Flores experience 2019. because if you really look back at that 2019 defense, you start to see like those are all the same guys that continue to play in 2020 and 2021 that actually had good defenses, right? Like there were genuinely good defenses at various points under Brian Flores in 2020 and 21. And if you look at the 2019, even when they were going through that awful month, one of the worst months of defense I've ever seen in the NFL, in that first month of 2019, that personnel was basically the same as what ended up playing much better in 20 and 21. So it kind of reminds me of that, like what's happening right now in the defense. And so, I think you got to give some real kudos and shout out to it, because while the offense still does this, it's like it's up here and then it's really down
within
there.
games sometimes too.
Yeah, within the game itself. That defense just kind of goes like that. And that to me means that you probably got more coaching acumen on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive. That's my opinion. But, I know that other people would disagree.
Yeah, no. And it's kind of obvious. We've talked about it before. I don't think Darrell Bevell is long for this job, even if Mike McDaniel stays. I think that's maybe Frank Smith has kind of, put in some goodwill since he dug up Darren Waller out of nowhere. And he seems like a player. But yeah,
the players love him on the sideline at least. I don't know.
Yeah. Terrell Dodson, they lost communication for a large part of that game. And there was a play, Mike McDaniel said so this morning in his availability, where they went empty and Tyrell Dodson called a run blitz. And on the film, they were like, how does he know that? And you could see Dodson calling out, he's motioning, it's a run, and he calls a run blitz, gain of 2. What did they do? They motioned the back into the backfield, gave him the football. They stopped it with the run blitz. Jordan Brooks tackle, gain of 2 yards. That's good film work. That's we look, man, we've given Tyrell Dodson
some shit
on this podcast. That's heady stuff to lose the headset and you become the defensive coordinator for large swaths of this game. All right, that's it. There is no more. The next time we talk to you, we will talk about a resurgent Jets team, a Jets team that's determined to destroy their draft position. Okay,
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, they've won. What is it? 3 of 5. So they're on a hot streak as well. So this is not going to be easy. This is going to be, I think, an interesting game for those of you that are rooting for wins. This is not going to be easy. Tyrod Taylor's playing well. So we'll talk about it on Thursday. But till then.